everyone, to our fifth virtual career chatter. I want to thank, firstly, Dr. Best for giving us his time today. I want to thank Miss Anson and her students, Miss Bartlett and her students, and Miss Summers for her brain. And I'm looking forward to this. As you can tell, we're all a little bit excited. So we're going to start off and have Dr. Best give us a little background on his story. And then hold on, hold on, mute people. There you go.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Markus Best. I'm a cyber engineer here at Lockheed Martin. I'm actually in the office right now. So if you hear some background noise or a couple of offices around me, I'll try to keep it to a minimum. I've been a cyber engineer here at Lockheed Martin for 10 years. However, I did not always start out on this path. Growing up, I grew up in West Philadelphia. I grew up, hanging in the streets and doing all of the things that you do in the streets that you probably shouldn't do in the streets. I got into a whole lot of trouble growing up. And then I dropped out of high school. I had no intention on going back. I had no real ambition or mission in life. And then I met one of my first mentors who coached me on just being a little bit smarter in the things that I did. I still continue to, kind of hang out in the streets and things like that. But this first person that I met, they instilled something else in me to let me know that, in life you'll need things, and to have things you need to be a little bit more responsible. So I returned to high school. And kind of funny part of that is I returned to high school. And when I returned to high school, I returned with some of my friends. And I was one of the only ones who had a car. So all of my friends drove to school with me. And when it came time to graduate, I mean, we would still kind of do the same things, hanging out in the streets or hooky school or things like that. When it came time to graduate, we're kind of all sitting around and they're like, are you graduating? And they're like, no. Are you graduating? No. And they looked at me, are you graduating? I was like, yes. And they're like, how are you graduating? You were hooking with us, doing all the things, and it's just, kind of a testament that you can still, do those things that your friends are doing, but you just have to be a little bit smarter. Um, so, dropped out of high school, returned. And then my second mentor kind of coached me into the technology field. I went to a 9-month computer trade school program and got a, entry level job in technology, and worked that for a little while. Um, and then, bouncing around between various companies and organizations. I tried college. College wasn't right for me. I tried it a couple of times actually, and it wasn't right for me until, my mid 30s. I tried it, and you know, long story short, I wind up going through getting my associates, my bachelor's, my master's, and my doctorate. And I didn't pay for any of them through the various organizations that I work for. I wound up using tuition reimbursement to basically put me through, all of those different degrees. And now, where I am in technology, I mean, I work on some of the coolest things in the world. I work for Lockheed Martin Space. Generally, we do cybersecurity for satellites. So, like for your phone, the GPS that you use, we do cyber for those GPS satellites. That's one of the things that we do here. So that's kind of my story in a nutshell.
Thank you. No, that was good. You covered a lot of bases there. And we have students that I know that I heard before the session that have a couple questions, and then I'll, of course, ask them as well. So Miss Hanson's class, was it Miss Summers? Help me. Was it? Oh, you're muted, Miss Summers.
Every time. Here we go. Azir had a question, and I think Mia also had a question that they were willing to ask. So Azir,
Okay.
would you mind going first?
I'll go first. Hi, I just wanted to know who inspired you as a kid.
Sure. As I was growing up, like I said, I've had a lot of mentors. One of my first mentors was actually one of my cousins. She hadn't gone through college or anything like that, but she was like really, really smart, and like just the things that you do when you're an urban teen. She was just really smart about being able to do those things and transform those lessons that you learn growing up in the street into real practical a real practical tool set that you could use in a business environment. And kind of through my life, I've met a lot of mentors like that that have taught me how to use, you know, skills that aren't necessarily your everyday skills, but transform those things that you learn to use in a corporate environment, and it makes you so much stronger, at least in my opinion.
Do
If
you
that
mind
answers
if
your
I
question.
guess if I kind of dive into that a little bit?
Hmm.
So you mentioned several mentors, and that we do focus heavily on mentors here. But can you talk about what's needed on the mentee end? Like the mentors don't just pop in.
Yeah.
It's not magical. You have to kind of on your end. What did you need to be to receive the mentor? And also, can you give a specific example, like you were just saying, like something that helped in the corporate world? So kind of
Hmm.
like
Sure. Um, uh, Again, through my life, I've had a lot of mentors. I have a lot of mentors here now in the organization that I work in. But what's required to be a good mentee is a little bit of ambition. Your mentor is not going to do your mentor is really not going to do anything for you, right? It's about you pulling the things that you want out of your mentor. You have to be open. You have to ask questions. You have to kind of have a little bit of a vision of what you're trying to do, right? Because in life, nobody's gonna, just give it to you and say, go to school and be this, or do this and you'll be successful. You kind of have to have a little bit of an idea. You don't have to have it, fully shaped. Your mentor can definitely help you in doing that, but you have to be willing to ask questions and step a little bit outside of who you are within the organization that I work for now. Kind of as an example, all of the mentors that I have, I've kind of reached out to them, cold call, or you know, uh, forced them to kind of be my mentor, through a little bit of poking and prodding and things like that.
and coming out of your comfort zone,
Yeah,
correct? You
it
didn't
is.
feel perfect doing that. You probably had a little bit of anxiety about it.
Yes, and I tell people all the time, like now I'll, within the organization, I'll cold call anybody. I'll cold call anybody if I need help with something, and or if I want to, figure something out, or even a good example of that was kind of when I was going through my doctorate. When I was going through my doctorate, I still, I'm an okay student now. I wasn't ever a really good student. The classes themselves, they were kind of easy, but when it was done, I had this giant thing that I had to do, this dissertation, and I had no idea um, how to complete it. I knew how to start it, but I didn't know how to finish it. And I wound up cold calling somebody here within the organization. I talked to her. I explained to her what I was trying to do, and she agreed to help me, and she pretty much coached me through completing that giant task. And that giant task is, a paper that was, a couple of like 100 and something pages long, and it was a lot. But kind of going back to your other question, some of those non-practical skills, I think when you grow up in that urban environment, you become a little bit better able to read people and kind of read people's personalities. As you all know, in the streets, people think they're a little bit more, I guess, slick is the word, and you get to kind of recognize that because those same personalities exist in the business environment when people think they're slick, they think they can get over on you, and coming from that urban environment, you see that maybe a little bit more. It's a little bit more embellished, but it teaches you how to read people and kind of see their personalities and see a little bit of um, their hidden motive or hidden agendas, and those things still exist in the business world. They probably exist a lot more, but coming from that urban environment, um, that's something that my first mentor, she was really really good at that, and I learned that from her. I learned how to kind of see people. I mean, you always want to take people kind of at face value, but you know you still have to be cautious, and just coming from that urban environment, it kind of taught me how to see people's personalities and their undertones.
I like that. Like
Mm,
me, kind of, you maybe not have thought that that was something that could be utilized so well and translate. Some
mhm,
of these students might think that's something that they need to like ignore, but
but
actually the opposite. And I agree. Reading a room is very important.
definitely.
So thank you for that. So we have next student. Any other students? If we do not call on you, but you have a question, you can even write it down. You can put it in the chat. You, any way you want to ask a question, please do. Unmute. But right now we're going to go to Mia. Oh, Mia, you're muted if you're talking. Sorry. We're all getting used to this.
Sorry.
It's okay.
My question is, why did you choose the careers that you like do? Like, what made you want to do computer science or what, the other things that you do?
Sure. Um, Actually, I kind of fell into it after I went to that through that 9 month computer trade program. Um, it was something that I was pretty good at, and the money was really good. Money is kind of a really big driving factor. Um,
No, I mean, you
uh,
got to be honest.
yeah. So
I respect
after I went through that program, I kind of got an entry level position in technology, and even looking around at all of my friends and what my friends were doing, out of high school. Some, very few of my friends went to college. Maybe one, went to college right after high school. But they all had, jobs. They had, decent paying jobs. They work for like SEPTA or New Jersey Transit or things like that. And they made decent money. But even coming out of that 9 month program into the technology field, I, I was like leaps ahead of what they were doing and continuing to kind of develop my skills and become better at what I did. That gap just kind of continued to just grow and grow.
So it started
Grow.
with the technology. Tell me about it. Grow and grow and grow. Keep the that technology certification that you mentioned as like the springboard. Can you
Hmm.
tell us more details about that? Because
Sure.
I think in order to go where you're going, it's like from high school to Harvard or something. You know what I mean? And it really
Yeah.
was baby steps. So can you tell us more about that technology certification?
Sure. So at the time when I came out of high school and I went into this, there was definitely a gap between, coming out of high school and going into technology. But there was a school, it was called Chubb Institute. They offered a 9 month uh, networking class, or it was like a 9 month networking and computer intro or something like that. Um, Now I don't think there are so many of the schools, which I don't really understand why. A lot of the skills, I think they're trying to bring some of those skills into high school now. But what I've noticed over the years is a lot the path to this career, while they try to push it towards college, or they push it towards you have to do this to get to this point. um, College isn't for everyone, and what I've learned is as long as you can read you can do almost anything. Reading is definitely fundamental. There,
Watch a YouTube video, right? To learn how to do
yeah,
things.
definitely.
Sorry, go ahead.
And there are a lot of books now. There's an entry level certification that even a lot of people who work in this environment who seek to obtain it don't have it. And I'm, I guess they say, time, as you get older, you don't have time to do this or you don't have time to do that. But there's an entry level certification on Security Plus. And just coming into this environment with that certification, you can do very, very well, with a little bit of understanding of what's going on. And to get that certification, it's a book. You read a book, and you go take this test, and it costs like $300 or something like that to take the test. Um, and you can get a book. There's a book that's made. I wish I actually have one. I wish I'd have brought it with me. Um, but there's a book. It's called the Exam Cram. Exam Cram makes some really good books. But this Exam Cram book, you can read this book and pretty much go take the test, and you'll have the certification. And when you come into this environment, there are people who went through 4 years of school and they won't have the certification, and you're already ahead of them because in order to do what I do, that's kind of the minimum bar that you have. Even if you have a degree, you still need this certification. If you
And it
don't
was
have a
that
degree.
book.
Mhm.
And it was that book and the completion of the book and you took a test after the book.
Oh, so for me personally, that I kind of predated that book. But when I came in, it was a computer trade school. I didn't necessarily get any certifications. I got like a diploma from graduating from this 9-month program,
Okay.
and then just came in and started working. And initially, I was doing like repairs on computers, like you have a HP computer or Acer or whatever. At the time, it was Compact and HP, and I was doing warranty repair for them and making network cables and stuff like that. But it's like you get these kind of basic skills, working at these organizations, and you kind of just build your way up. Um, I think not to ramble here, but I think there are maybe one or two computer trade schools left. They're very few and far between now. I think that's something that someone should probably start and probably would make a lot of money. But
All right, we'll
The
talk after
community
this.
colleges do the community colleges do have some basic beginner courses in computer sciences. And also Abington has a couple. There's quite a few offerings if you were thinking about next year what you might want to look into.
yeah, that might be something for us to talk about too. Potentially getting like students set up to take certifications and coming out of high school with certifications.
Absolutely. We'll stay on after this and talk about that.
Mhm.
Okay, so we have a student who has a question from the chat. Ms. Summers, can you help us out with that?
Tian, would you want to say it or do you prefer that we speak it for you?
Did you feel like you were limited on a career you can do?
When I was coming out of high school, I definitely felt very, very limited. Um, as I said before, I didn't have any real ambition or any thought of what I wanted to do. Um, Kind of, growing up in the streets and doing again the things that you do when you're hanging in the streets. That was kind of what I knew. That was kind of the world that I knew. So I had no idea what I wanted to do. I had no idea what my future looked like. And I think that kind of segues for me into one of the biggest pieces of advice that I've learned, and it's been reiterated to me over and over throughout my life. Be careful who you share your dreams with. There are a lot of people around you who, um, one, may not have your best interest at heart, um, or two, may not have the vision that you have. So, shit, if I told someone, kind of an example, growing up, I told somebody that I was hanging with in the street, oh, I want to go and I want to work on computers and work in this corporate environment. they would have, yeah, right, that's not something that you can do or something, because I wasn't really good at computers. I didn't even think I even had a computer at the time, So, you want to be careful who you share your dreams with, and who you allow into your circle. You want to definitely stay around people who can positively motivate you. If you see people who are dragging you down, you gotta kind of walk away. Hope
That's
that answered the question.
that's great advice. That was a good question, Tion. I'm going to pause. Does anybody have a question? Go ahead, Ms. Bartlett. Oh, you're muted, Ms. Bartlett.
Dr. Best, before class, we were talking about, like chasing after your dream and really just going for it. Because before teaching, I was in marketing and advertising. And I said, I didn't like it. So I stopped and went to school to be a teacher. It's my dream. So for me, for my students, I want them to try everything to find their perfect fit. And I think you were speaking of that too. But I guess as educators, how do we really get them to push themselves? Because we want them to do something that they're going to be happy yet successful, but also try and know you might fail at it, but that's okay.
Sorry. I think a lot of us in life, there are, we have dreams, or we may think that they're just too far out of our reach, something that's not attainable. If you would have told me, when I was 16 or when I was 17, that I would be, where I am now, and I would, I would have never believed you, and no one would have ever believed you. I with kind of a quick segue again, I got kicked out of Catholic school in the second grade or something like that, because I got hit by a nun, and I told her, if you hit me again, I'm going to hit you back. Who would have thought? And she basically told me that I was never going to be anything in life, and I got kicked out of Catholic school for that. So, coming from that to, where I am now, it's such a broad spectrum. But as far as like your dreams and what you want to do, you have to just be willing to try things. You're not going to be successful at everything you do, but you try, because you don't want to just do something to make money. You don't want to just do something to try to survive, because ultimately, at least in my opinion, I don't think that you'll be happy. You get up, and you got to get up, you got to go to work, unless you somehow miraculously inherit a whole bunch of money. You got to take care of yourself, you got to take care of your family. So you want to enjoy that. You want to, I always tell people, for myself personally, on a day-to-day basis, I might not enjoy what I do. I enjoy the idea of what I do, but overall, that idea of what I do and being able to see the impact that I have on things, it makes me feel good, and I enjoy coming to work, and that's what you want. That, think about it now, going to school in the morning. You're like, oh, I don't feel like getting up this morning. Oh, you don't want to do that for the rest of your life. I don't feel like going to work. I gotta, I hate my boss, or this, that, and the third. You want to enjoy your life. You want to enjoy what you do. So that's the motivation right there, to just try things until you hit your mark.
Very good. Very good. I was going to just say, like, that teacher and other people that probably counted you out, there's a second part to that. The students and yourself, you can't count yourself out.
Exactly. You can't.
So it's like a two-part thing. Like, if you want other people not to count you out, you can't kind of agree with them. Maybe not out loud, but maybe in your head, So
yeah, you definitely have to. One of my big things is staying positive. You have to stay positive. You know, even
That's
when
hard.
things, you know, get you down. You know, a lot of people around here probably think, you know, I'm a grinning idiot or whatever. You know, I walk up and down the halls every day. You know, I speak to everybody. Hey, how you doing? You know, because inside it makes you feel better. So when you sit down and you have to do something that you don't want to do, because every day, you know, you can't always do exactly what you want to do. Um, uh, it brings a little bit of something to you. It keeps you energized. It keeps you motivated, and motivating other people. It helps you. It keeps you positive. And then sometimes if you keep the people around you motivated, you know, that one day when you don't have the motivation, they expect you to have it, so they give it back to you. Yeah.
That's awesome advice. We have probably the most positive. I don't know where Miss Hanson is on everyone's screen, but I think Miss Hanson is the Dr. Best of Abington. If she ever has a bad day, which I don't know if that's ever happened, I'm sure the whole entire school would say, "Okay, what's wrong? What's going on? Are you okay?"
Well, thank you for that, Ms. Correct.
All of us are positive. You're super positive. Go ahead, Miss Hanson.
So I have a follow-up question for Dr. Best. So I know that you said when you were growing up, school was not at the forefront for you, and you didn't feel like you were good at it, or you struggled. And a lot of the kids that are in this Zoom chat with us now are students who often have had maybe some negative experiences in school, maybe have struggled, maybe have encountered some obstacles through school. But it sounds like you were able to pinpoint some skills that helped get you through and helped you be successful in the long run. So just like maybe you, where school isn't necessarily their thing, I'm sure you have some, and you mentioned being positive and staying motivated. What are some other skills you think can really help push these kids and help them find success in life?
I guess it happens to me too.
Mute button.
Yeah. Um, as far as high school goes, um, it's not the rest of your life. As far as school goes, you know, it's not the rest of your life, but it has such a huge impact on the rest of your life. You know, if you look at people who may have dropped out of high school, or, you know, didn't finish, um, their things are harder, you know. So I think that right there is one motivating factor. But as far as getting through, on a day-to-day basis, you have to remember that you you don't have to be, you know, you don't have to, it's a bad thing, I don't want to say that. You don't have to be perfect, you know. You don't have to be right all the time, you know. You don't have to get an A every time. You still should push to get that A. But if you don't beat yourself up about it, you know. Don't let a bad experience ruin everything, you know. Sometimes you gotta just push through it and just get to the next step. You know, the next step may be a little bit easier, you know. Whereas if you don't go to the next step, things will get harder. You know. So as far as just that day to day, just be willing to try, and just be willing to see the next tomorrow as another opportunity, just to try again, or, you know, do something different. I hope that answered it. Hope that answers your question. That's a kind of a hard one, you know, when you think about what motivates, you know, different people, day to day. You just have to you have to remain positive, and just sometimes just push through. It's hard.
It's
And Dr. Best, you mentioned earlier, like finding those mentors or people that can like help you push along. And students, like you have to give a little bit to the adults who care about you. Like many of your teachers, maybe those people you could go to, certainly Miss Bartlett and Miss Hanson. And I'm sure there's another person in the school building or within your family that might give you that incentive and that push and that encouragement. And foster the relationship with those people. Try to, be pleasant with them and seek them out. And because most people want to help you, and you just have to find those in your life.
That's very true. Most people want to do good, and they want to see you do good. They want to see you be better. And as you recognize, you go through day to day, and you recognize various traits in people that, oh, I like that in that person, and you try to emulate it. So you want to try and cultivate those relationships with those people, so you can truly learn how to master those skills. And that relationship, it is a give and take. I mean, and right now it may be just, being a little bit nicer to that person. It's, because again, you being nicer to that person, and brightens that person's day. So you're giving something back to that relationship, and that person ultimately will receive that. And people who see that you want to achieve something, they're definitely willing to help you. I hear that all the time, when I reach out to people, and it's just the fact that you're reaching out, and they're like, oh, this person actually wants this thing, so yes, I'm going to help them. It makes a big difference.
That aspect of reaching out has come up in a lot of our sessions, and the aspect of people being ready and willing to help. It's just that little push. And Dr. Vess admitted, it's not easy. It doesn't come easy. It's a little nerve-wracking. Every single one of our career chatter speakers, I think, I could be exaggerating, but I don't think I am. Every single one has spoken about reaching out, as Dr. Best said, cold call. I love that. And cold call doesn't mean someone that's a complete stranger. It could be someone within Abington. For Dr. Best, it was someone in his own job that maybe he didn't talk to every day. I love all this. All quotables from my little notebook. Students, does anybody have any follow-up questions? Because we are getting to the end of the session here.
I have one more.
Great.
How was the coronavirus like affected you in your work environment?
Question. It's affected me it's affected me very little. In the environment that we work in, the job that I perform, it was deemed a quote unquote essential government function. So a lot of people, like this building is huge. At least I think it's huge. A lot of people were required to work from home, but unfortunately, the job that I perform, I can't work from home. I have to be physically here. If I took some of the stuff home, I'd probably go to jail. But so the job was deemed a critical function. So it's affected me very little. Since this has started, I've been in the office still every day. Actually cleared the roads a little bit, so I have no traffic.
But that's another advertisement for this type of career, because this is not the answer that we get all the time. A lot of people's jobs were extremely affected. Some even had to pivot and change jobs. So the fact that it's so stable and essential is pretty incredible.
Yeah, it is definitely deemed essential, and you, in this role, you definitely perform a critical function. You hear these things every day in the news about somebody getting hacked or this or that. Overall, what I do and my counterparts do is we try to prevent that on a large scale.
So actually, yes, I feel like this is a career chatter, and we really didn't talk too much about your specific career. So you're, layman's terms for me, you are protecting people from attacking United
Satellites.
like cyber.
U.S. Yeah, U.S. interests in space generally. We uh, we secure those assets, space components and the ground components attached to them, to prevent our adversaries from being able to compromise them. The government pays a lot of money for these assets, and if our adversaries knew all of our secrets, or if our adversaries knew, how we accomplish these missions, that way that we do that would be void. All that money would basically be out of the window. So what we do is, we look for those vulnerabilities, we poke those vulnerabilities, and we do our best to close those vulnerabilities.
That is very interesting. That sounds like it could be like a movie. Probably already has been, but you can't probably say some of those terms. You could tell they're like adversaries, and like you can't say. It's all right. Any other questions? Students, your questions have been very, very good. So thank you. I'm going to pause for a second just in case someone's nervous but wants to ask a question in the chat, or unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Don't ever be
Or
nervous.
Angel had, I was gonna say, Angel had the same exact question. She just messaged me. Her question was about the corona before and after.
Mhm.
Well, there we go. Okay, students, thank you so much. And Miss Hanson or Miss Bartlett, do you have any final words for your students?
No, but guys, I appreciate all of your questions, and we will talk on Monday when I see you guys, okay? So look for one follow-up assignment to complete, but then that's it. But thank you guys for attending. I appreciate it.
Same thing for P214. It will be in the Google Classroom. Make sure you do it. Thank
And
you.
I peek at the responses, and so does Miss Summers. We look forward to seeing them.
Thank you, students.
And here's Marcus wants to say something too after Miss Summers. Go ahead, Miss Summers.
I just wanted to say thank you too. This is definitely a pleasure for me. I enjoy doing things like this, and I was once in your shoes, and I hope that my experiences can help you. And this is definitely a pleasure for me. We talked about kind of brightening your day. This is definitely a bright spot in my day, because I have some things I have to do later that I don't necessarily want to do.
Don't we all? That is great. All right. Well, thank you very much. I think teachers, are the students dismissed? All right, students, you can leave the Zoom. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Certifications.
So again, like as an entry-level certification for cybersecurity, there's a certification. It's called Security Plus. There's a book for that certification. It's called the Exam Cram, the Security Plus Exam Cram, and it's really just memorization. And coming into the technology field, if you have that certification coming into the security world, it puts you leaps and bounds ahead, at least on paper. And if you can translate those things that you learn in that book into just a little bit of understanding, there a lot of what we do is kind of on the job and on the fly. While Lockheed Martin itself, they generally gear themselves towards high school grads, and towards college grads. There are a lot of other organizations who don't require that. Just me coming into this field, as I've said before, I didn't have a degree, and there are a lot of organizations that look for people who just have that understanding, and who they can mold into what they want to do. So kind of circling back, there are a couple of certifications, and I can put a kind of a list together for you of
that
some
would
of
be
those and send it over to you, and some resources for helping people to develop those certifications. I'll do that, send that out to you. And I was even thinking for internally, I was thinking about putting together some resources to help people here obtain that particular one, the Security Plus. So whatever I put together for that, I'll send that along too, because again, it's not something that's really too difficult. It's just a matter of memorization. And for me, I realized that I was really good at memorizing things, and I kind of cultivated that memorization through music, like listening to rap music and remembering all the lyrics. Like when I was growing up, I knew the lyrics to every song, and just that one skill, it kind of helped me.
Bet some of these kids have that same skill.
Yeah.
That's
And
very
that
relatable.
making that skill transferable into school is great, because that's a skill that they can bring with them. We have to, capitalize on those strengths, those social strengths, so that they can transfer into the academic world.
Yeah, and
That's
it's
awesome.
it's a skill that they don't realize they have. Like they just see it as like, oh, I know all the lyrics to these songs, but really it is about memorization and being able to just off the cuff, have stuff ready to go. And those are life skills. And that's, Dr. Best, that's kind of like, when you were talking about that motivation and that positivity and being able to take your street skills, like knowing that not everyone has your best interest, and the people that are trying to get that get over on you, and applying that to your adult life is, I feel like the kids, they don't understand that these skills that they already have, they're life skills. They really are.
They really are. They really are.
I totally agree. That was like a very, very good point that we don't often hear. So I like repeated it because I agree. I actually think that sometimes some of the kids think that's a detriment. To kind of flip it and be like, that's not a detriment. You can use that, and not in just professional world, and like Lockheed Martin. That's why it's so great that you're there, because it's like, if it works there, it's pretty cool. I mean, right? It's pretty corporate.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, it doesn't get much more.
Really, I mean, and that what you just said just now is another great skill, and you learn that kind of in interviewing. And what I'm talking about is flipping those negatives into positives. You think about in an interview and somebody asks you, oh, what's your worst attribute, or what are you not good at, and you take that negative thing, and you flip it into a positive thing. That's a skill right there.
Oh yeah.
I'm such a hard worker. I don't take any time for myself.
Yeah, and that's mine. I usually say, I just can't let things go. I need to know the answer, and it's very true. I can't let things go. It's like, I gotta understand why.
I just want to say one other thing. You were saying Lockheed Martin focuses on college grads, and that's like their thing. Well, I'm on a personal campaign for that to not happen anymore, like with anybody I know, but especially Lockheed Martin, because they've been so great to us. All these people and everyone that comes in says similar things to you. So I'm like, all right, well, let's stop doing that.
Yeah, I really agree. Like if we could get some high school students in for like a summer internship or things like that. I mean, they bring college kids in for internships. I think the hardest part is some of the writing skills and things like that. So if you can get kind of the writing skills and push their, this kid has a really good ability to do this writing thing. Like I think I was a pretty good writer, and I kind of enjoyed that, and I think that helps.
We hear that from almost every area to work in, that communication skill and writing skill is really important.
All right, guys, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to excuse myself because I have an advisory coming up. So, and I think Casey's the same. So, so we will see you again for your next session with a new crop of students, and we're looking forward to it. So, Dr. Best, I just want to say thank you, and I'll see you later today.
See you later.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Great. So thank you. We have a few other things to work on today too, but
Okay.
we appreciate you coming to speak with our
anytime.
students.
And I love these post conversations because I have all the stuff written down, and we're looking forward to breaking down the that college situation that kills me. I don't want to take it away. Like, they should still do that. That's fine.
Yeah. Oh no, I agree. I definitely agree.
They're at such a loss.
Yep.
Time to change the world.
I agree. Let me know what I can do. Let me know what I can do.
Well, you're already doing it, but you know, I'll call you up whenever.
Yep. Anything I can do, I'm always here.
Okay.
Great.
Well, we will see you in a couple hours.
All right. See you in a couple hours. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.